Welcome to Manawaker Studios Flash Fiction Podcast. I'm CB Drogi. This week, I Owe You One by David Powell. Scabmire, a demon, materialized in Father Poultry's tidy monastic cell. He considered the sleeping priest, took a swig from the half-empty bottle of Balvenie scotch by the bedside, and bonked it lightly against the priest's head. "Wakey, wakey, Father," he said. Father Poultry blinked awake, saw Scabmire at his bedside, and rolled over, pulling the thin wool blanket over his head. "Too much single malt," he mumbled. "Hey!" Scabmire growled. He hopped up, clasping the wooden footboard with his claws, and flicked Father Poultry's hip with his pointed tail. "I'm trying to help you here, Milquetoast. There's some major shit about to blow your way." The priest sat up and looked sleepily at the scaled, winged creature on his headboard. "I don't do nightmares anymore, okay?" Scabmire sighed and gestured as if sweeping a cobweb aside. Fire erupted from the priest's bed. Poultry screamed as the demon gestured up, hauling him out of the bed by the heels and dangling him just above the fire. "Wake up and listen, damn it! Some really bad dudes are coming, and I'm the only one who can help you." "I'm awake! I'm awake!" the father screamed, flailing. Instantly the fire disappeared, and Scabmire gestured like an umpire calling safe, lowering the priest onto the bed. "Okay, get all your toys out. Robes, holy water, crucifixes, the whole 9 yards. Poultry, still panting, said, "What? Why?" Scabmire swept his arm up, and the father caved. Okay. He threw off the blanket and hopped out of bed in his plaid pajamas, snatching his crucifix from the wall and service book from the desk. Scabmire scooted his desk beside the bed. "Line everything up here," the demon said. "Don't forget the holy water." "Holy water? I don't keep that stuff around." Scabmire pulled a deer park out of the mini-fridge and tossed it to him. "This'll do. They can't tell the difference. Just put it in something holy-looking." The demon scanned Father Poultry's shelves and picked up a wine carafe. "Use this." "That's from Pier 1. Scabmire frowned and smoke puffed from his hairy ears. "Quit nitpicking and get your robe on, and the purple ribbon and stuff." Eyebrows stuck in a puzzled V, the priest lined up his arsenal on the desk. "What do you mean they can't tell the difference? Who can't tell?" he asked the demon. "The guy's about to stage your suicide, Belial and his boys." "Suicide?" the priest snapped. "I'm not suicidal. I'm the healthiest mind in this whole freaking parish." "We'll see how healthy your mind is in a minute," Scabmire said, grinning at the shadows gathering on the ceiling. An odd churning noise, like a concrete mixer filled with rocks and flesh, filled the room. Creatures materialized from the shadows, their bodies a bizarre mix of pedipalps, compound eyes, and sheer malice, climbing the walls and swarming over Poultry's bed. "Holy shit!" The priest jumped back, eyes wide and hair at attention. "Ignore them," Scabmire said. The creatures closed in on the priest from all sides.
"Belial approaches,"
they screeched in unison.
"Make ready, faithless priest."
The creatures evaporated, leaving behind a stew of slime and alien fungus. "You've still got a minute," Scabmire said. "Hand me that crucifix." "Won't it burn you or something? What am I saying? I don't even believe this stuff." "That's why they picked you. You're a PR coup." "PR?" "Sure. We got an atheist priest, attacked by a demon, realizes his life is a lie, hangs himself, and goes to hell. You can't pay for publicity like that." But... "Don't sweat it. Just follow my lead." Scabmire ducked behind Father Poultry as the concrete mixer noise returned. A membrane of black smoke appeared, and Belial, a hideous riot of tentacles, eyes, and teeth, burst through. His minions, the mismatched creatures, swarmed around him in adoration.
"Faithless priest,"
Belial roared.
"your filthy soul is mine."
Father Poultry's face froze in a mask of stunned horror. Scabmire rose up from behind him, holding the crucifix out in both hands. Belial's eyes wobbled in annoyance.
Scabmeyer, he growled. You weasel! What are you doing here?
Belial stepped forward, but Scabmeyer got between him and the priest, holding up the crucifix in both hands. Back off, mucus face, Scabmeyer shouted. Belial faltered as if his knees, if he had knees, had suddenly given way.
How can you... But...
The good fathers brought me under the cross, Belial, Scabmeyer said, clearly delighted.
What? Impossible! He doesn't believe we exist!
Scabmeyer turned back to wink at Paltry, whose face suddenly flooded with understanding. Scabmeyer and Paltry shouted in unison.
He does now!
The concrete mixer noise stopped. The minions looked at their master, and Belial's tentacles drooped, his manner changing from demon to delivery boy. Did I miss a memo or something? Belial asked. The largest minion scrolled through his phone, shook his head, and held the phone up for his boss to see. Huh, Belial said, switching from email to messaging. A silent moment passed, with only the sound of slime dripping from the walls. Finally, the big demon pointed most of his eyes at Father Paltry. So you converted him, or he converted you? Paltry shrugged. Hey, this guy showed up and set fire to my bed. What could I do? I'm a skeptic. I'm not stupid. Belial's eyes returned to his phone.
Wait a second,
he growled.
You were my next call, Scabmeyer.
The priest looked back at Scabmeyer, who shrugged. I've got a gambling issue, he said.
Why, you little...
Belial said, the demon voice returning. Paltry stood up straight, arms outspread to the big demon. Belial, he said in a priestly voice, there is room for all in God's kingdom. Want to talk about it? Scabmeyer picked up the carafe. Yeah, dude, relax. Have some holy water, he said, and flung the water at Belial, who shrieked in all-out panic as the water splashed him, sizzling and blackening his flesh. He and his minions disappeared in a cloud of smoke, with the big demon still screaming. Paltry and Scabmeyer watched silently as the smoke dissipated and the room returned to its original state, clean and empty. They sat on Paltry's bed, passing the scotch back and forth for a few minutes. Got to hand it to you, Padre. Killer improv. I did some theater in college. Scabmeyer nodded. I owe you one. He stood up. Hang on, Paltry said. How come plain water burned him? And how can you handle the crucifix? Scabmeyer shrugged. Stuff only works if you believe in it, he said, and disappeared. This has been I Owe You One, written by David Powell. Manawaker Studios' Flash Fiction podcast is supported by patrons on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Manawaker to find out more. The Flash Fiction podcast theme song is by Kevin MacLeod. Manawaker Studios' director of DICE is Ben Baston. The podcast is produced, edited, and narrated by me, CB Droege. You can follow me on Twitter at CBDROEGE. Thanks for listening. On the next installment of Flash Fiction Podcast, what he did was much worse. He left us to die, and now he's spending our money, the money we earned, or at least the money we suffered for.